It's spring and I'm in New York City. Though there is this nagging feeling, I can't seem to let the winter go. When spring comes momentarily, I miss the freedom of winter. This freedom is different. It is not derived from the pure expansiveness of your body on a bike and a city that is whipping past you. It's not a freedom that holds the whole day in its hands as an endless well of happenings. It is the freedom afforded by a lack of expectation, a submission to the snow bearing down on you, a deep surrender to the forces outside of your control. It occurs to me that I need to return and sort through all of it. All of the quiet revelations, the ecstatic dance of February where I became everything I loved, and the brutal lows that followed.
Wow. So I'm filming with someone's
Nice. Oh my god, man.
Wow. Wow.
I was on a social media hiatus in January, and I had so much to say and nobody to say it to. So I opened my notes app and started recording every stray revelation. January 7th. Social media hiatus might be slowly coming to an end as I feel a strong desire to be witnessed. January 10th. You can still be crazy indulgent and achieve your dreams. January 10th. There will be so many iterations of myself. January 10th. Discipline is freedom, discipline is freedom. January 14th. It's good hosting people because when they leave, you have a new lease on your space, an erotic silence. January 15th. Back when I would fall in love with men who believed I was an artist. January 16th. What is more honest than wanting? January 16th. So often you will realize the thing that you were dying for, praying for, wishing for happened and you didn't even realize. January 21st. How to befriend the creative process. January 22nd. I don't want to live in cold, harsh weather. January 23rd. Expansive, expansive, expansive. What is the key? January 25th. Dreaming about the day that I have a Patreon. January 28th. All the time I'm asking, who is the version of myself I need to be to write this fucking book? January 28th. All of it is just dissolving shame.
How are you feeling about winter right now?
I could reinvent myself, I was sure of it. January gives you these types of feelings. I had more questions than answers. In the winter, I had two main locations, home and the Anytime Fitness. The Anytime Fitness was always a deeply psychedelic experience. I would wander around the machines under the fluorescent lights like a ghost as the snow fell outside. I would find myself staring often at other people and their bodies that were so similar and so different to mine, moving and stretching. I would listen to Ram Dass speak through my headphones.
That sees that everything that's happening is law unfolding, and that it is the way it is, which is a certain kind of...
We were all
my guru
here,
used to say to me,
in our
"Ram Dass, don't you
bodies,
see
on
it's all
Earth,
perfect?"
together. My room was just what I dreamed of a year ago, my own safe space, a room to write and paint, candles to light in the evening, and a lover that would visit often. All my prayers were answered and life continued. I did not stop desiring. I took up smoking. Not really, but my friend gave me menthol cigarettes from a trip, and occasionally I decided to stand inside in my coat and smoke and watch the snow fall and have a moment. This was short-lived because I realized I hate smoking and it makes me feel unbearably sad. There were a million possibilities and I was holding them all in my hand. It's a winter wonderland.
I'm obsessed with this right now. I love the oh yes.
February 2nd. Follow what is true at literally any moment and you can never go wrong. February 2nd. The mystery is always fresh. February 2nd. Better to fumble through it than to never start. February 2nd. Demystifying because all there ever is work. February 11th. Where you are is where you are going. February 15th. The best artists are always the most honest people. February 16th. Matter moves so much slower than energy. Oh my God. February 19th. I'm testing out a theory that if I exercise my throat chakra, my jaw pain will be more relieved. Let's see. February 26th. Drawing every morning. I kept asking myself, what would it take for me to be a real writer, to really commit to my art? I had this image in my mind that this better version of myself was locked up away somewhere. If I could only find the key, I could claim her and all of my limitless potential. I yearned for her deeply. Night and day I think about her at least once. I think about her magnificence that I can only feel as a shadow that she casts upon me. I am the negative space. She is the room I place all of my hopes and dreams in. All the dreams I've cultivated from the first moment that I discovered that it was a job to write the things that I read. All of it, the whole thing, invisible and intangible, becomes concrete and hard in her room. There, in that space behind the mirror, I do not worry if I'm a good enough writer or if I have what it takes. I'm glistening and new. People come up to me and thank me with tears in their eyes. They wonder how I do it. Sun-warming skin, a glow radiating from the inside, an internal rhythm that has set itself aligned with everything in the entire cosmos. I am like the sun, the moon, the river, and the trees. I don't question my purpose or wonder what I'm doing with all this time that is afforded to me. My existence is simply enough. I perform my tasks because it is who I am and not what I do. There is a pure and overwhelming feeling of bliss. Is that too much to ask for? On a day that I felt particularly lost, I prayed for an answer, a sign, anything that could guide me. It struck me in the afternoon on a deep, gloomy day that I was making the whole act of creating far too mystical a process. There was no cheat code, no secret, no way around it. The only rule was work. If you work, it will lead to something. It's the people who do all the work all the time who eventually catch on to things. I felt a deep and overwhelming sense of relief. The truth made me feel ecstatic. The creative process, like life, required not my mind, but my hands. It valued experimentation and play. It kept occurring to me in lightning strikes that whole month that I was engaging in a co-creational process. It was not my inner genius that was on display when I made something special. It was my acute ability to listen and offer my active participation. The whole month, work was my North Star. I didn't need to be good or clever, I just needed to show up. I took all of the momentum building up in me and ran with it. I was writing again. I was working hard. I have always felt like a beginner in painting. I still do. Regardless, I keep turning to it. It offers something very different, a catalog of conscious and unconscious symbols and objects. Reading is sort of a collaboration with time. Slowly, you gather the essence of the book. But in painting, in one instantaneous moment, you can get a sense of the whole thing, the whole essence. My parents wanted a painting for their apartment. I rarely paint landscapes and have often felt deep down that to paint a landscape from a picture was silly, trivial even, more of a craft than an art. But I needed something to work on. I needed a challenge. I was confused as to how to tackle a piece so big. I was armed with only one tool, a quote by Robert Irwin. Seeing is forgetting the name of the thing one sees. It made all the difference. I forgot about trees and bushes and boats, and I began to see them as shapes, colors, and values. It began to become a puzzle. The whole thing opened up to me. Painting became about solving problems, and alongside a whole season of Gilmore Girls, it was a deeply meditative practice. It was neither trivial nor silly. It completely transformed my way of seeing. The rest of the month went on like this, writing, painting. I'm gonna make a little video of our time here. March 16th. Mania feels so good. Depression is so hard. March 26th. When I'm ovulating, I forget anything bad has ever happened to me. March 26th. This whole thing is like a puzzle piece that I'm trying to put together. March brought on a heaviness, a gravity that I could feel contracting against the weight of my body, a slow and then rapidly quickening descent back down. I wondered if all these notions I was carrying last month about the pure expansiveness of the world was all an illusion. Maybe this was the truth of the matter. February must have been a bright and powerful illusion. The truth was that life was boring and mundane and difficult. I would sit down to write and nothing. I would stare at the almost finished painting across my bedroom and have no desire at all to pick up my paintbrush. I was rapidly losing the plot. The dreams that before had boundary and shape were porous and gelatinous, oozing out of my grasp. The universe and I were having a play date, but it was getting dark out. The streetlights were lit and it was time for me to go. It was that lonely feeling that I couldn't shake. Suddenly, I was 8 and the sun had set and there was this endless melancholia that was following me all the way home. I went to visit my lover's family up north. I felt low to the ground, carrying the weight of the past week with me, and with it the shame of all the writing I had not been doing, and the painting that I couldn't seem to finish. But there were cliffs, and the sun glistening off of the ice, and suddenly I couldn't bring myself to care about all that. I just wanted to be here, holding hands with my lover and saying, wow, look at that. Sorry.
Worth it.
I want to take a video. Wow! Wow. Finally making it home. We took another trip to a chalet in a small town an hour and a half outside of Montreal. We took shrooms, and I cried by the water about how I could feel this better version of myself, this happier and freer version of myself, just out of my reach. It made me think about this thing Ram Dass said about how he had devoted his whole life to God. He dedicated himself through service and meditation and prayer. Through all of this, he thought he would become this better person, more enlightened, more holy. But all these years later, he said that he seemed to be the exact same person he was before, with all his same annoyances and neuroses and pettiness. I started laughing. I laughed so hard that tears were streaming down my face and snot was coming out of my nose. It was the funniest thing in the whole world. The thought of praying dawn to night in a temple in India only to find yourself shouting at the person who cut you off in traffic. It was the most human thing in the whole world. I had all the puzzle pieces, and I was finally putting them together. There was a distinct trackable cycle that I had been on for a long time now, an expansion that felt like an exciting euphoria and a contracting, coming back down again. I wrote it down. I made a list. Being low vibration is for movies, long walks, meandering, acceptance. Being high vibration is for committing, dancing, expressing, revelations. I had all the pieces, I just needed to put it together. Anne Carson in Eros the Bittersweet said, if we follow the trajectory of Eros, we consistently find it tracing out this same route. It moves out from the lover towards the beloved, then ricochets back to the lover himself, and the hole in him, unnoticed before. Who is the real subject of most love poems? Not the beloved, it is that hole. There was the lover, me, here and now. There was the beloved, that better version, glossy and in high definition, unburdened by fear, glistening with a microphone in her hand, so natural as if she came out of her mother's womb gripping it. And there was the hole, that wretched self, that other girl gurgling in some corner of my mind. If you laid her out flat, she was the distance between me and all of my possibilities. She was defined not by what she did do, but what she did not. It was her passivity, her very radiating absence of action that defined her. Maybe it was never about the beloved. It was always about the whole. That shadowy negative space that the beloved's light cast in darkness. It was the omission. It was everything in me that was too human for my own good. My pettiness, my fear, and this very body, lazy and tired, hungry and sick, that kept me here on earth. Unknowingly, I had made it to the drop-off point. All roads seemed to lead to it. The other girl was there too, deep down in its cavernous folds. I climbed in with her. I began painting again, slowly and in my own time.
I can't believe it's April.